Yo, so in this video we'll look at how we build your own CT protocols. Now, as I said before, I'll take this quad player as an example, and we'll use what we learned from the two previous episodes about positioning and angles, counter utility, and how our routes are affected or determined by this. Obviously, CT protocols means rules or guidelines, so when X happens, we react by doing Y. It's meant to be reactive, so whether it's from what your opponent does, what your teammates do, or other stimulus like time, for example. Protocols carries on throughout the entire round, so you may have protocols that involve the entire team on a macro basis. So looking at our map philosophy here, we've got obviously CT retakes, numbers games. This is all like team shape, how we retake a bomb site together, containing and flanking, how players move around the map. Mid to late round aggression, how you do that with your other teammates. You may even do it on your own. And CT rotations obviously again affects the team shape, and each player has a small part to play in all of that. And obviously some protocols are just for yourself on a micro basis. Not all protocols are correct. That's obviously something you need to take into account. So I mean, as we said before, protocols are rules or guidelines. So you may have a really weird rule that every time the T's fire their AWP, you have to run to T spawn and back. Obviously, that's a really stupid rule, but like I said, that would be a protocol, or the definition of a protocol. So obviously, there's lots of ways to react to certain situations or certain stimulus. So it's important to analyze what you did in demos and see what you did and how else you could have played it. So, having explained what it is, I'll now begin to show you how to do it or how to build your own protocols. Okay, so I've put together here a graph of building your own CT protocols. So just to explain what this is, so we've got this setup here. This is the initial setup. So this is going back to the CT playbook. So for the purposes of this video, we're having a look at the quad player on Inferno, and we'll take the alpha setup. So the next thing we want to do is have a look at the common scenarios or problems that arise from playing this position. And then what we'll do is we'll have a look at the positioning and angles, how we play quads, what positions we can play it from. Then we'll have a look at the routes. So routes for how we either fall back to certain positions or re-aggressing. And then we'll have a look at the counter utility. And we look at these individually, just on their own. Once we've done this, then we go back to this, common scenarios or problems. We'll take one problem and we'll have a look and see what solutions we can come up with. And then what you want to do is try and discuss this with your teammates, and this is how it affects their protocols. So if you want to try something out, then he needs to figure out how to play it off of you and how he's going to be most effective and make the most impact. Then you want to try it out in game, and then you just want to repeat the cycle. So as you can see, the cycle's going round here. But yeah, so first things we'll do is we'll have a look at the common scenarios or problems playing in the alpha setup as the quad player on Inferno. Okay, so taking a look at common scenarios and problems. First of all, if you need ideas, look at your own T-side playbook and see how you would react to them. Also, I've got a few here. There's not all of them, obviously, but this just gives you a few ideas. So one problem is if the T side is defaulting and they're peeking mid and boiler. So obviously if they're peeking out this side from mid and if they're peeking in from boiler, that's one. Pushing mid on flashes. So if they keep flashing mid and you got no protocols in place to stop getting blind or whatever, then obviously that's an issue. Other things that happen, obviously smoking the arch side and smoking quad side. If they constantly smoke off the arch side here, then obviously it's a 1 versus X. Your teammate is out of the picture here if you're just on your own, so that's an issue. Likewise, if they smoke off quad, this time you're cut out of the picture and you're rendered useless from behind the smoke. How do you react to that? That's another issue. Obviously arch side wraps, so if they smoke this side and wrap towards arch, how do you react? Quad side hits, they smoke off arch and wrap quad, how do you react that way? Mid to Bs, so if they drop a smoke down here and you're coming back to help, how do you react to this? Where's your job, or how do you react to that smoke? If they do a mid to B, balcony push, how do you prevent a balcony push or react to that? Balk and quad splits, if you've got both sides, how do you react to that? What if your arch player dies? So obviously we've got the mid peaks here. If your arch player dies and you've only got 2 people on A, what you're supposed to do then? Likewise, if your balcony player dies, what you're meant to do when he dies, and it's just you and the arch player. If they push B, how do you rotate, or how do you react when there's a B exec coming in? And if your B player dies, you know, how are you meant to play a 4 versus 5 when your B player's dead and you've got 3 players on A? So obviously these are like just common scenarios or problems that go down when you're playing this position. Obviously there's probably more things that do happen, but this is just to name a few. And obviously the more and more you play it, in your own experience you'll see common scenarios occur, and obviously you just use or go back to this cycle and you just filter it in and try out things that way. Okay, so now that we've had a look at some common scenarios and roughly the areas that we'll be playing in, what we need to be aware of, next thing for us to do is have a look at positioning and angles. If you need to, refer back to the first video, CT Protocols 1, which explains more about this, but we're just solely looking at positioning and angles and just areas of the map that are available to us. So if we just take this again, what I would do is go around the map and see, or try and break down these positioning tiles or dynamic methodologies that we can use when playing in these positions. So just to give you an example of what I mean, obviously we're playing mostly on the quad side, we'll play around the site most likely, sometimes we'll play around pit and balk, occasionally in towards apps, whatever, but when you have a look just solely at your positioning, you want to try and have a look at some of these styles. So what I mean by this is, I mean there's all sorts, right? So you can play on here, this would be like a bouncer style. Can you play it as a peeker? No, because there's no cover in front of you. Can you play it trigger based? Yeah, maybe. Depends what stimulus, right? There isn't a lot of cover here, but you just go through. Are you spotting? You can't really spot and then fall back. It doesn't really allow you that because of this corner. Are you holding? Yeah, I suppose it's more like a hold position. But yeah, so you try and figure out the positions that are available to you. So obviously here we've got another one. Obviously again going back to like positioning and that kind of thing, we want to have a look at what we see, what they see. So maybe my shoulder's sticking out here, or my arm. If I look into the wall, maybe my foot sticks out, and maybe you just need to have a look, see if you can find an angle where you're not showing your entire body. And obviously how you position yourself will determine how you can make that position most effective. Other things, so like I said, if we go back to this again, so if you hold it as a bouncer, obviously you want to keep this area smoked, you don't want people swinging on you here and here. If you're playing it as a peeker, you could do timely peaks, just occasionally. You could play it as a spotter for arch, so you're just spotting the initial execution, and then you can have someone else play off of you. You could play trigger based. I don't know if there's like a, probably like a flash or something, I guess, that you can do here. I think there was even one around. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, maybe there's like some utility stuff. Play trigger based, or if as soon as that smoke goes down, maybe you can molly towards the middle or something, you know. So just keep these in the back of your mind, but just look at your positioning and angles first of all. So obviously if I'm here, I don't see anything, Maybe a player's like a hold position. Trying to think of the engagements that you'd be taking. Can you have a crossfire of your teammate? Yeah. Solo type hold, probably not. You can get cut off quite easily from this position. Can you play in a retake style? I mean, yeah, you can play this area as a retake area, but from this position, falling back, you'd have to come all the way this way. So perhaps not from this position. Can you play it as a ninja type position? Yeah, possibly. High traffic area. You need someone else to take the attention away from you before swinging out yourself. So yeah, I mean, just something to note there. And obviously you just go around the map having a look at positioning and angles as well. So obviously if I'm holding this angle to boiler, it's headshot angle. As this guy's coming around, he's got to check here, here, then here. And obviously if he's here, like, he's open to you there, so it's a very difficult angle to sort of hit as a T-side player, but for you, just keep your headshot height and you can take them out quite easily. Obviously this angle also means that you're covered from mid. Now likewise, if you wanted to challenge mid, it's better to do it from the right side because now you're hidden from boiler. But if you peek from the left, you're exposed to both. Likewise, if you're like this, you're exposed to both. So again, gotta know your angles, what the other team can see, and what engagements you want to take. So yeah, you can play this position as a bouncer, you could play it as a peeker. Can you play trigger based off this? Not really, I guess, because obviously they're going to be out of these choke points quite quickly, so you can't really play trigger based from that position unless you had someone else holding the angle and you just had the pin pulled already. So trigger based, not great. Spotter, can you spot from this position? Yeah, you can spot the initial execution and then fall back, though it might be better to do it from a safer position where you can fall back more quicker. Maybe you can just spot as like a pixel peek, like so. So you're just looking into boiler and you've got your outside player holding mid for you, then you can fall back easily. So maybe, yeah, you can play spotter from this angle. Just try out different angles. So obviously I don't know about this position, what the other team can see from this, but you know, just try out different things, how they affect each other. Obviously you can get into other positions, you know. So what I would do is just break down what angles you see, what positions you can play, what's available to you first of all, before moving on to the next one. So if we just have a look at a couple of positions on site, obviously if we play back here, again with objects, we want to play on the back of the box so that we can fall off easily. So if I'm here and I'm holding this angle, maybe I can take my first shot here, maybe I can use this pillar as cover, and take another engagement here, still hidden from balcony. We're not even looking at counter utility yet, we can do things with counter utility around this. But again, we're just looking at positions, so if I'm on the front of the box, then I want to fall back, I have to go all the way back here. If I'm on the back of the box, I can just fall quite easily, and then I've got to try out where or what other engagements I can take if I do fall off. So maybe if I'm on this box, let's see what other angles, maybe I can take this engagement. So I take that fight there, another fight, and then whatever. But yeah, so break it down, just look at your positioning first, different angles. You know, you've got so many different angles, boxes, objects, things that you can play around with. Have a look what engagements you can take, break down, etc. You know, even the haystack, what you can do around from here, whatever. Perhaps, you know, maybe your job is to watch balk when your teammate watches quad for you, but obviously this is something you discuss with your teammate. Let's see, I don't know if this is... So yeah, you've got two different angles there. Can we position ourselves in the back of this? When do we fall off? Okay. So to make ourselves the smallest possible target, we want to come across, we want to know this. So probably about here, I guess. And if we do get pushed off, or they do push quad, we can drop off quite quickly. Maybe we can throw a flash or something, change up our angles, play around it, or whatever your protocols might be. So yeah, we'll go on to the next one now. Obviously we'll have a look at a few positions, so we've had a look at most of the positions that are available to us. Now we want to know about routes. Okay, so having looked at a couple of positions and angles, you now want to do is break down your routes. So definition of routes is basically transition, so transition between positions. So what I mean by this is that perhaps you go towards quad and you want to get a boost up here. Now it might involve some of your other teammates. Effectively what you want your route to be is like safe, efficient, quick, and obviously it needs to be decisive whether you're falling back or going forward. So obviously if I'm crossing mid like this, it's not safe because obviously I can get naded, I can get picked off or whatever. So obviously your route sounds self-explanatory, but you probably want to go this way, right? It's quicker through here and safer, and you can get boost up. Now also it depends who's boosting you. So it may be that your arch player boosts you, in which case you might then decide to play a double up quad with arch player down here, and you can just play on top of the porch. Alternatively, it might be your balk player that boosts you. He can then go back to holding balk, and you can hold a crossfire in mid with your arch player. So yeah, it's a transition between positions. So what I would do is take a handful of positions and see how you'd move effectively between them. Even something simple like holding a position like this, so you come onto the edge of the roof if I can get up there, and you transition to the behind the pillar, so you're transitioning into cover. So from here to here, oh, what am I getting stuck on? So that's what I mean, like figuring it out. I didn't know you could even get stuck on that. So transitioning from here to here, that would be a transition from one spot to another one. I think there's a little gap down here, so maybe you come on here and drop, move, whatever. But yes, so you take one position. So let's say I don't know, let's say I'm spotting here for boiler, and going back to angles and positioning, the further you are from an angle, the less of you they see. So obviously we're just spotting like this, maybe we're just holding a pixel peak or whatever. As soon as we spot them, then we can transition to the next angle. Obviously being safe, we need to be aware of the balcony. So obviously I don't want to come around this way, right? So let's say I'm spotting, I'm holding this angle. Okay, I've spotted. Obviously I want to look the way. You can try and do it backwards as well, so you're looking always where they're going to be. Then I try and position myself into this spot maybe. And then how you transition from one spot to the other, so you know, maybe how you move from here to here. Maybe you need like extra utility or whatever. You start breaking it down into its fundamentals. Maybe I want to re-aggress quad, retake this area. So maybe just going back to the peeking, maybe I just shoulder or jiggle peek this. And then maybe I'll start retaking this area, and then how do we retake it? You know, maybe I get a flash or something and double peek it with a arch player or something. But essentially you just want to break down your routes into their fundamentals, you know, so maybe my rotation, maybe I want to rotate, but obviously I've got to be aware of that, right? So when I'm rotating, maybe I want to come back, rotate this way around, like so. Obviously keeping this object in line with that, just so that I'm not getting shot, and then again play my angles or whatever for that. Okay, so once I've had a look at my routes, I want to have a look at my counter utility. So counter utility, once I've figured out these two, it's you just want to use your counter utility to make that transition phase easier, or helping you in certain positions, or creating new positions at angles with smoke grenades and whatnot. So going back to the example that we had before, using this as a spotter type position, we might want to come up with a lineup. I don't actually know, but again, remembering the counter utility video of CT Protocols 2, obviously your momentum moving to the right, your grenade's going to go to the right, so you want to put your crosshair towards the left, just spotting, and you want to pull the pin to make it quicker. So you can go as fast as you like, moving towards the right, and we're getting on top of that box again. So I know the second position that I want to take up, and we're just going to transition over there, and this Molotov is going to help to slow them down. So I'm coming back and I'm positioning against the right side of this wall so that I'm hiding myself from balcony, and I'm getting on top of the box, still walking backwards and trying to get to the back of the box if I can. I'm just going to position myself just a little bit better, just so that it's easier to work with. Now I can use my positions and angles from here. That Molotov will have delayed them, so I've now got myself into a nice early positioning. Now I might decide to either use this angle and take that first engagement before dropping off. Then when I drop off, I can obviously try and pick another angle, or I can use my utility to either have a look over and then peek. So let's say top of the box. I'll try that again. So obviously it needs to practice it just on your own. So drop off the box, do my flash, peek out. Maybe I even use a smoke or something, try and create more angles, and then maybe I reposition myself from behind that smoke. Now they think he's like back of sight, but the smoke just creates more angles for them having to clear. And I can just play around here, and obviously counter utility, you want good flashes and nades, and obviously you need to understand in the setup what you're aiming to do. So obviously it may be that you want to use some smokes here or whatever, or you want to try and drop smokes here, maybe drop Molotovs in this area. You want to have good nade stacks with your teammates as well, so obviously if you've got nade stacks, maybe your guy in pit can do a nade stack as well. Maybe even for second mid, I don't actually know one. Not sure about that, but maybe we can get someone around up here. Like I said, if you've got like, I probably want to refer to my other CT Protocols video, the second one. Maybe you can one way, maybe try and fight. I think they won't see you on the boxes. Maybe that box they might see. But maybe you can try and find an angle or something where you can use this while you're still being protected from bulk. Likewise, you might want to drop a smoke here, and maybe, so let's say I take the first engagement here, and I drop a smoke or whatever, and transition over here. Now I switch to balcony, and then again I can use this smoke to create more angles around here. Maybe I use some flashes or whatever, just so I can, okay, I can't even see the box. Maybe use some flashes, whatever, just to flash under here that aren't going to blind me. Again, going back to positioning and angles just around here. But obviously you're building layers upon it. So, you know, let's say I'm playing as a bouncer here. Take that first pick, then I fall back. Again with the angles, whatever. And they're pushing out quad, that's when my counter utility come into play. Maybe I do a flash here, peek in front of it. Anyone on bulk, drop a smoke maybe. And maybe I just play around this box. But again, you know, like I said, refer back to the CT Protocols video about utility. and see what you can come up with based off your positioning that you figured out, or based off the fact that your routes, your transition phase, like I said, this one, maybe it's even banking it off that wall or whatever, just to help you move around the map. Rotations comes into this, so like if you're transitioning between routes, and obviously maybe you want to come across. And obviously transitioning back, so let's say you got your arch players rotated off towards B, but now they're coming back towards A. Maybe your pit player needs some help towards here. Maybe you figure something out with your utility coming back in the transition phase. Okay, so once we've had a look at these three, now we have a look. We go back to the common scenarios or problems, and we try and figure out a solution. So we'll take the first problem on the list, so default mid picks or mid peaks from boiler and mid. So it's very common that obviously there's people coming out of here and out of here, and we want to go back and we want to have a look at these three things, so positioning, routes, counter utility. So counter utility, first things first, obviously we want a smoke nice and flush in here, so it's in a nice straight line. If it's out here, people can walk behind it without us knowing, and it basically gives him 1v1, 1v1. It's like if they smoked mid themselves, so we want to make sure that our counter utility is good in mid, that it's nice and flush against this line. Next thing we want to do is understand our positioning, so maybe we're playing as a bouncer, maybe we're playing as a spotter, but we kind of understand that how we want to play it. See if I'm in this position, do I have any support from another teammate? If I got a guy at arch, no, then I probably want to adjust that positioning. So we take a position. Once we figure out how we want to play it, we kept that smoked. So that's smoked off, default mid. Then obviously my goal is just to watch boiler, and my AWP can just have the smoke run out. See flash and that come through, then I can just fall back nice and safe towards site. Again, or as a spotter or whatever, I can fall back towards site. That's absolutely fine. Just trying to think anything else. Pretty much all there is on the default, really. Not much else to say. Alternatively, maybe you tell your AWP to watch boiler, I'll hold mid with that smoked up. Obviously, again, you need to understand when you are smoking mid the timings. You don't want to do it too early, but you want to find out the timing from how long it takes to get from T-spawn straight up mid. This is the quickest route that they can get, so you want to have this smoked before they even get up here. This means that you're buying more time with your smoke grenades, and then obviously you want to cycle smokes in mid. Now, as a general rule, you want to fall back after, or when the timer says 50 seconds. So this would be one of your protocols that you would have is, or a solution to this scenario to stop them from peeking both mid and boiler, is that once this smoke disappears, then you fall back, and it's usually when it's around the 50-second mark on the clock and you get deeper into sight. Obviously, if they start coming A when there's 50 seconds left, it's usually meaning that they're committing fully to A because they've got no time to rotate back to B. So that would be just one good protocol to have. At 50 seconds, once all the smoke's been used at mid, fall back towards site. If you're still unsure what's happening, then obviously you can re-aggress towards mid. Now, how do we re-aggress towards mid? Maybe you need help from your teammate. So obviously a route transitioning, so you want to jiggle peek, jiggle peek, jiggle peek. Then you're coming up. Maybe take a teammate with you, or maybe a teammate just flashes it for you and you do a peek yourself and someone peeks from arch and you peek together. So maybe you do that flash there. So just pop flash for here. Obviously, going back to pop flashes and counter utility, you need to make sure that it blinds all the angles that are going to be peeking from this corner. So obviously you want here, you want people that are going to be here, and you want people that are going to be here. So obviously that's a good pop flash. And then with that flash you can peek and then either fall back if you need to, if they are there. And then obviously your roots again, counter utility, how you look at that. Obviously this is all bad, but obviously you need to figure out, like after you've got that peak, are you playing it for information or are you playing it for frags? And this goes back to your position type and how you want to do this. So, and what your objective is here. So yeah, obviously that's one solution to that problem. Okay, so we won't do all of these, but we'll do the archside smoke next. So it's common as well that for defaults or quad executes, that they smoke off the archside and then they wrap quad. And the problem here is that it's usually a 1 versus however many are coming through that choke point. What is quite common is that people get caught here and they have to take 1, 2, 3, 4 players coming through here, and you've got no way of falling back. So this is where you break down again the problems and you have a look and you filter in the positioning and where is it? Positioning, routes and counter utility. So first of all you need to establish a good position. Let's say you've got your arch player over there and you're here. This probably isn't the best position because if that one smoke will nullify your teammate helping you out, and you've got a 1 versus however many are coming through here. So maybe this isn't the best position. Here's okay because obviously you're looking towards boiler. If you see that archside smoke go down, you instantly fall. And then maybe you can use your utility or whatever. Like so, and then maybe you can even drop a smoke or whatever, play in another position. Alternatively, maybe because they keep doing the archside smoke, maybe you tell your teammate, okay, let's double up quad this round, in which case this position would be viable. And again, you have a look at what angles they can see, whatever. Maybe you're just spotting for that arch walkout. Let's say you've got your AWP with you, maybe it's your AWP holding boiler, or maybe it's your Balk player holding Balk or whatever, and he's just spotting Balk, and as soon as that smoke goes down, then let's try that again. Then he can molly and he can flash in the back corner so it won't blind you, and the molly will spread into the boiler here, and he can just support as they're coming out. So you've got 2 rifles here now. Obviously you can just hold like an angle like this as your protocol just to spot the walking out. So they might come out here and they might walk out like this, whatever, and you can just spot that if you haven't got anyone playing arch. But yeah, so this is how you sort of develop your own protocols and how you talk with your teammates. So what you do is you figure out what you want to do first and how it'd be nice if someone else played off with you, and then you tell your teammate, okay, let's try this, and then he can have a look at it and okay, be like, okay, yeah, this is good, I like this, I don't like this, or whatever. Maybe if I'm peeking this angle, maybe there's like an AWP holding that angle, maybe there's like a flash or something you can do to get him off that angle. So that I can help you when I swing, and I can play around this pillar and you can play this pillar. So different ways you can do that. So obviously just with that archside smoke you can play it on your own and fall off, and you go into your roots and whatever, or you can play it with another teammate and adapt, and this is where you get setups created mid-round. Yeah, so I'll come on to another couple of examples just so that you get the idea. Okay, so if they smoke off quad, as a quad player it's quite annoying. Obviously most of the time you try and spam through, but what happens is you get caught out of position and they start wrapping around A. So what you want to do is once you see that smoke go down, obviously you want to start moving. You want to watch the smoke obviously, so you're looking the direction just in case anyone does walk out. Careful the boost, and then maybe you go over, maybe you ask for a flash from your pit player, and you support your arch player, maybe even do your own flashes, whatever. Again, looking at counter utility, that flash is going to be hidden by the bush. Yeah, so it's another thing, or another common thing that you do see. Maybe you're playing, say, the double up quad position again. Let's say the previous setup that we had was one player here and one player here, and then this smoke goes down. Maybe you boost this guy on porch and he can look over the smoke, and while after your boost maybe you then go round and you come round this way. So that's another option. So there's lots of things that you can do, but obviously you need to be on the same page as your teammate, and this is stuff that you need to talk through. What I would do is maybe take one of these problems, have a look at positioning routes, counter utility that you want to use, how your teammates could play off of you, try that one idea in game. Did it work? Yes or no? If it didn't work, then obviously go back to the drawing board and try something else. If it did work, then great, you can start using that, and it can become one of your own CT protocols as a team. So we've had a look at some of the protocols where if a smoke goes down or how the other team reacts, and you know, on information that you spotted and on timings when you should smoke and fall back and that kind of thing. Other stimulus would be that when that player dies, your arch player dies, your bout player dies, if it's 4v5 or whatever. Obviously this all comes into like the numbers game and containing and flanking mid-late round aggression. So this is the sort of area that we do struggle in. So for instance, if my arch player dies, then a couple of ways I can react. I can obviously react by going to hold moto. I can react by trying to get some aggression into the apartment. Maybe my teammate pushes balcony at the same time that I push boiler and I flash him in, and then his protocol is to then contain and hold this angle like this. Maybe we double push balcony together, and then he can go on the flank. So this is where the dynamic tree comes in. He can go on the flank round towards T spawn. Meanwhile, me as the quad player, I can just contain them here. I've got two players over at B, and then on the retake we can have two from banana and two from B, and if they just control ruins, then we can come through banana and retake from here. So they sort of all intertwine, overlap. It comes from containing and flanking, the numbers game, going for aggression, and then finally onto the CT retake. And obviously if CT retakes, you can get banana control. You can do mollies for quad, you can do mollies for dark. I think I might have just failed that one a little bit. But yeah, so, or alternatively, you know, you could have maybe like a hall setup or something with the two guys. One playing here, and one could be playing either back here or here, something like this. Alternatively, if your arch player dies, maybe double up pit, one holding long and one holding short. So there's lots of ways that you can play. Like I said, there's a lot of different things that you could do, some on a macro level, some on a micro level. But obviously you can look at all of these and develop your own protocols that way. So as mentioned, once you've had a look at all of these, you've had a look at some of the scenarios and problems, you've looked at some solutions. The next thing you want to do is discuss it with your teammates. You want to go into a private server and say, hey, this is how I'm going to react when this happens. So every time this outside smoke goes down, I'm going to react like this, or whenever this quad smoke goes down, I'm going to react like this. The other guy's going to go like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And then he can look at his own positioning, angles, routes, whatever, and how to make it most effective. So obviously if I'm going, if quad smoked off and I'm coming across towards arch, maybe my pit player then wants to do a flash or something, just to help me peek while he's holding short and bulk, just jump spotting or whatever, looking at his own positioning and stuff. But yeah, so this is how it all sort of interlinks. But yeah, you want to discuss it with your teammates. So discuss it with your teammates, just talk about your ideas, break down each component, just let them know how you react, and how they can play off you. And then obviously the final thing, obviously try it out in game. You just want to take one idea, don't overload, and just test it out thoroughly. Obviously then you want to analyze it, did it work? And then obviously you want to figure out if it needs adapting, changing, or if you need a different idea and approach just to counter that or what they do. Alrighty, well, I hope this helped. Obviously, if you've got any questions, let me know. But yeah, that's just like the basics of building your own CT protocols, and then obviously you can go from there.